Alright, we're finally at the last major element of character creation, equipment. Hi, I'm John from Incendium D&D, and welcome to D&D Cram School. Today, we're finishing creating our character by choosing our equipment and doing some final calculations on our character sheet. First, make sure you've watched our last episode and you've figured out your character's ability scores and ability score modifiers. Different equipment works better with different ability scores, and it'll be good to know if your character is more strength-based or dexterity-based. And like generating ability scores, different DMs do have individual preferences on figuring out your character's starting equipment. I do find that most DMs just prefer that you look in the starting equipment section under each character class entry, but some DMs like you to roll for starting gold or to pick your equipment a different way. I myself as a DM enforce variant encumbrance, so the way I allow my players to pick their starting equipment is by picking anything on the mundane equipment table, and they can basically take it as long as they can carry it. But for the rest of this video, we will assume that your DM wants you to pick your equipment based on the class entry. And we'll also spend most of our time talking about the most impactful decision, armor and weapons. Your choice of armor is going to lead to your character's armor class calculation, which is the score that an enemy has to meet or beat in an attack roll in order to hit your character. And depending on your character's class, your character may have more or less armor proficiencies. For example, fighters and paladins have proficiencies in all armor, whereas rogues and warlocks only have light armor proficiency. And some classes like sorcerers and wizards have no armor proficiencies at all. You'll find that usually if your character's class tends to be more strength-based, their armor selection is going to lean more towards the heavy armor side. Whereas if your character is more dexterity-based, you'll lean more towards light or medium armor. And there are some character classes that tend to be a little more flexible. Going back to fighter, you'll notice that fighters have the option of either chainmail or light armor, but also with a longbow and 20 arrows. And that's because you can build a fighter either prioritizing strength or dexterity. And you can figure out each armor's armor class by checking out its entry in the armor table on page 145 of the player's handbook. You'll notice things like chainmail has a strength prerequisite of 13, meaning that even if you're proficient with it, you do need to have a minimum strength score in order to avoid having your speed reduced, but it also has a flat armor class of 16. Whereas leather armor, which is taken by a lot of dexterity-based classes, has an armor class of 11 plus dexterity modifier. And for certain builds, it's actually best to take the middle road, medium armor, which usually has a higher base armor class, and you can add up to 2 points of a dexterity modifier to it. As for weapon selections, this is going to be kind of similar. If you're a strength-based character, you're probably going to want to take a melee weapon with the biggest damage die and thrown weapons for ranged combat. Whereas if you're a dexterity-based character, your melee weapons are going to want to have the finesse property, but your ranged weapons are going to be much more plentiful. Now, while damage die can be one of the deciding factors that you consider when choosing your character's weapons, you also may want to take into account each weapon's special properties. For example, glaives, pikes, and halberds have a lower damage die than, say, great axes or mauls, but because they have the reach property, you can use them even if you're 10 feet away from a target. This can open the door to some interesting tactical and positioning options that a standard melee character may not have access to. And you'll notice that finesse weapons may have a lower damage die than other weapons that have the same gold cost. But they also mesh well with the rogue's sneak attack feature, meaning that when you hit with an attack using a finesse weapon, you'll actually get to do a lot of extra damage. In terms of filling out your character sheet, whatever equipment you end up selecting for your character can be noted in the bottom middle section. From there, we can make notes on each weapon's attack bonus and damage roll. Your attack bonus is what you're going to add to the d20 when you go to hit an enemy. And your attack bonus is whatever modifier you're using for the attack, plus your proficiency bonus, assuming that you're proficient with the weapon you're using. The damage roll, on the other hand, is going to use the damage die for your weapon, plus your ability score modifier, but not your proficiency bonus. So as an example, let's just say that we're creating a first level barbarian using standard array. Most likely, their strength ability score modifier is going to be +3. As a first level character, their proficiency bonus is +2, meaning that their attack bonus is +5, and the damage roll of a great axe would be 1d12 +3. Just also note that depending on your character's build, other features may factor into these stats. For instance, a first level fighter that chose the archery fighting style is going to have a +7 attack bonus when using a longbow instead of just a +5. To go back to our barbarian, while our barbarian is raging, the damage is going to be 1d12 +5 instead of 1d12 +3. Once we've noted our character's equipment, calculated their armor class, filled in the attack bonus and damage rolls of each of their weapons, we're pretty much finished creating our character. If you have any questions about the steps that we covered in this series, or there's a particular topic you want us to revisit or dive a little deeper on, let us know in the comments down below. And remember to like and subscribe to get more quick tips to get the most out of your tabletop adventures. Have an awesome day, everybody. Bye-bye now.